So let's face it, we can all be a little bit hard on our shoes, but there are certain pairs that are an investment, or maybe for sentimental reasons, they're just tough to let go. Charles Tanner of KC Shoe Repair shows us some common places that they can wear down. When you take a look at a shoe like this, would you say it's worth saving or maybe just toss it?
No, I would definitely save it. We can get that glued back in for you. Especially if it's a favorite, you don't want to just toss it.
How long would it take?
It's a bonded strap, probably 20 minutes, and then you'd be back on the road.
Something else that we might see, these little fasteners or buttons, they can pop off so easily.
Yes, this is one that holds a button. So we'll actually get that re-looped in there, get you a new button on there, and get it reattached. So you'll be good to go.
And that would be pretty easy for you. A customer brought this in. This one is one of my favorites. We got a little talking action going on here.
That happens quite a bit.
So why is that?
The heat deactivates the glue. So our glue we use is actually heat resistant.
That's amazing.
So we'll clean this up, get it roughed back up, and get it reattached. And that would actually take a little longer because we'd have to do it in stages to get that curled back around the toe.
See, it's just amazing to me that you can take a look at a shoe that most people, might think is ready for the garbage can, but you guys are like, we can fix it, we can take care of it.
That's definitely someone's favorite shoe.
Okay, so now we're going back through Belinda's closet, but a lot of ladies have something like this. Anytime you've got a heel with felt, I feel like this always gets so skinned up and the tip is almost always gonna show.
Yeah, so this would get the pin out and doctor all this back up for you and get some dye in there and get it cleaned up and get you a new rubber tip on there. And definitely we could actually clean the suede up and get it back to being black instead of the grayish look.
Okay, he's calling me out for not keeping the black clean there. Okay, and what if it were a more composite or like even plastic material like that? Sometimes you're gonna see some rough damage.
That actually smooths out easy.
Really?
For the most part, easier than that because the glue will soak through the suede.
Oh.
So this one's a little easier to work with. We can heat it up a little bit, stretch it back down, and we'll get you back on the road again.
That's amazing. And then what about a shoe like this if we're seeing some of that like talking action going on?
That I would actually just splice in. We'd cut and get you actually a new piece on the back and clean all this up. That way you're level again. Because walking with it like this, you tend to catch down in here. So level them back off and get them going.
Well, and if you thought that those were all going to be thrown away, he is going to show us some ways to save them. And there are preventative measures you can take, like putting water and stain protectant on your shoes. In just a bit, we're going to see how a strap gets pulled out and then gets glued right back in. So if you're ready to throw out your favorite pair of shoes, don't do it just yet. For women, your heel strap is the most thing that's likely to break, something that I know all too well. So let's take a look at the fix. Just when I had gotten ready to say goodbye to this pair forever, Charles says that he has a fix, and it actually only takes about 10 minutes to do.
Yeah. So I already roughed it up, cleaned all the extra debris off there. It opens up the pores to let the glue soak in and do its job. So we're going to use an acrylic adhesive.
And this is something you guys really say, hey, don't be a butcher, don't just start super gluing things.
Oh, definitely.
Because you guys know what you're doing.
Get it glued in there, get it clamped, let it sit 5–10 minutes. You'll be back on the road.
That is just excellent news. You, of course, are not the first shoe repairman in your family. How did you kind of like fall into this? And tell me a little bit about the history.
Third generation, grew up my grandfather's shop onto my father's shop. Started touching my first shoe when I was about 5. Picking stitches and things like that, and just stuck with it.
And being in the business for such a long time, what's some of the most damage or most wear you've seen?
Usually it's dog chews, like this leash, for example. That was a dog got a hold of it. That's an easy fix.
Yeah, they're right through.
Yeah, usually if it's shoes and things like that, they do a little more damage than that, and it's a little more complicated to fix, but we can fix it most of the time.
So is there something exciting about being able to fix something? That way its owner doesn't have to go out and buy new.
Yes, because they bring it in per se beat up and we make it look like new again. So that is satisfying. It's like art.
Well, and it's also really hard to say goodbye to a pair of shoes that you've obviously loved for a very long time.
Yes, definitely.
So Casey Shoe Repair does not just fix footwear, they also patch up leashes, as you saw, saddlebags or motorcycle bags, and they even fix bands on purses or watches. So a little bit later, we'll see what can be done for some sad souls.
When it comes to shoe repairs, you found out the most common that needs some TLC are work boots or cowboy boots.
So that's right, and Charles Tanner of Casey Shoe Repair shows us how worn out soles can look as good as new.
Charles, these don't even look remotely similar, but they're actually a matching pair.
Well, yes, we resoled them, peeled the old sole off, and then also conditioned and restained the leather to get it back to that nice shine and conditioned feel, so it's not so dry.
And it looks as good as new. Now,
Yes.
since we've been in the shop, there's actually been a pair of shoes that needs a new heel brought
Yes.
in. So, can you show us that process?
Yes, so we're going to replace this heel. This is a last that the shoe sits on so we can actually work.
So
And
you're,
that's our heel puller.
you're
So
ripping
that's
off that heel
the
right
old
now.
heel, you can see where it's worn out. Then we'll go over to the sander and rough it up like we did the strap.
One thing that caught my eye was the gentleman who brought it in said he wanted it to be as good as new. And we can see that can happen.
Oh, yes. Got that old debris off there. We'll rough this up.
You guys also use special adhesive, and were you telling me that this is heat resistant?
Yes, this is heat resistant.
So why is that
A
important?
lot of companies, for some reason, don't use heat resistant, and so if you leave your shoe in a car, for example, they tend to start separating. And we can actually use heat to help speed up the drying process.
It's kind of curing there. Just like a microwave, it'll let you know when it's done.
So I'm gonna throw it over here, get it pressed back on.
So now it's the moment of truth.
Oh, it's on there. And then we bring it over. This is a 5-in-1.
And you get that precise cut.
And then we'll go back over to the finisher. We start with the rough grit sandpaper to go around the edge and the heel, and then we'll go over to the smooth, and then we'll stain it back to the brown. So now we'll get them polished and conditioned, and he'll come and pick them up.
So Tanner said professionally, he's been fixing shoes for about 31 years. That is a long time.
Yeah.
And he remembers helping his dad and grandfather out even when he was just like 5 years old.
It's striking how similar that was to woodworking. You know how
Really?
he reared all that to it, he treated it under the lamps, and then you just used the tougher grit sandpaper to get it down even, fine grit to fine tune it, and then stain it, boom, it was done. That's
so
crazy. Very
woodworking, shoe repair, kind of one and the same.
cool. Cobblering versus a handyman. Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, thanks for joining us.
Make it a better day.